I want you to imagine the following. It's a day like any other. You're just browsing YouTube and you discovered a video about a tiny pixel roguelike that seems right up your alley. Sure, the video makes it seem like the game is just for psychopaths and people who enjoy getting kicked in their nuts repeatedly, but it's a YouTube video. It's supposed to be exaggerated and overly dramatic. So you head to Steam and go download the game to try for yourself. And as you get more and more runs under your belt, you come to the realization that everything said in this video was true. The story I just told you? Yeah, that was me when I first stumbled across Noita. Just an innocent soul looking for the next roguelike to play. And now, 100 hours later, I can confidently say I know nothing. I feel as I've barely scratched the surface of what's possible in Noita. Part of it of course might be because my self-imposed challenge of not looking anything up. Which in a game that calls this a sufficient tutorial might not be the best idea. And yet, no matter how many times the game obliterates me without warning, I keep coming back. There's something strangely addictive about Noita's chaos. Most of the deaths feel unfair, don't get me wrong, but also like it's hiding a lesson you just haven't figured out yet. One moment you're cursing the gods for getting sucked into your own black hole, and the next you're loading up another run thinking you can't possibly die of your own stupidity twice in a row. Turns out you can. And I didn't even mention the sheer scale of the game. While at first it seems that Noita is a game about a wizard trying to reach the deepest part of a dungeon to defeat an evil being, doing so only really gets you one response from the Noita community. Congratulations on beating the tutorial. Congratulations on beating the tutorial. What do you mean beating the tutorial? I spent nearly 200 runs and countless hours to achieve this feat. What more is there possibly to achieve in this game? Oh. Well, as it turns out, Noita actually is a game about rewriting the laws of physics, shattering reality to break into parallel universes, soaring into the heavens, exploring the depths of literal hell, crafting wands that could level entire kingdoms, bathing in random liquids like it's a spa day, and then blow yourself up because you moved a spell one slot to the left. And I fucking love it. At this point, I feel like I have some sort of Stockholm syndrome going on with the game, where Noita beats me down, burns me alive, deletes me from existence, and yet I keep crawling back in for more. So here I am, 100 hours deep, fully committed to this abusive relationship. And ahead of me, the single greatest run I ever managed to pull off. And just like many great things in life, it all started with murdering some hobos in an abandoned mine. Unfortunately for me, doing so somehow set half the place on fire, and since the only liquid I had on hand was a polymorph potion, which could turn me into anything from a sheep to a cosmic abomination, I had no choice but to bail into the first holy mountain way earlier than planned. The holy mountain, for anyone who hasn't played Noita, being sort of a safe room in between biomes to refresh HP, get some new wands and spells, as well as pick one of the available perks. And since I'm not really impressed by any of them, I just picked the one that makes me immune to knockbacks. I still take the full amount of damage though. Before heading out, I made myself a very potent drilling wand with the 2 luminous drill spells the shop had in store, but still decided to leave the normal way, which of course caused the holy mountain to collapse behind me. I eventually will be turning every holy mountain I come across into Swiss cheese, but since doing so also summons Steve and I don't have the firepower to fight him yet, my main objective in the coal pits is to find some good wands. It also turns out I forgot to replace my polymorph potion with water, so being burnt alive was very much still on the table. Luckily, I didn't have to worry about that for too long, since in the next holy mountain I found the fire immunity perk. I also thought it would be a great idea to summon some helpful minions to fight alongside me, but I might just have miscalculated a thing or two. But check out this cool wand I found in the next biome. It has a whopping 10 large firebolt spells attached to it, with which I finally felt confident enough to go and destroy someone else's property until they call the cops. Funnily enough, I ended up not even using the wand, but instead decided to just drill Steve to death. Which, now that I watched the footage back, was extremely risky, especially since I completely forgot to pick up the health regen before fighting him. But I survived, and that's what counts. Did I learn anything from it? Of course not. With the gods already angered, I figured they wouldn't mind me me drilling an exit, and I'm glad I did so because shortly after I found a wand with a plasma beam attached to it, and there was something I just had to try. You see, plasma beams are notoriously dangerous. They linger around for an extended period of time, and they are one of those spells which can actually hurt the player when casted. But what if we take the plasma beam, put it in an egg and just throw it really far away from us? Perfect. With my newly acquired surprise egg, I made it through the Hisi-based biome and only almost killed myself with it once, which is honestly better than expected. But seriously, those things have no way of controlling in which direction they fire, so I dismantled the wand as soon as I got into the next holy mountain. After dealing with Steve, that is, of course. I then picked up the homing shot perk, which makes all of my spells home towards enemies, and tried out a new modifier I've never seen before. I absolutely love it. And as long as I remember to not fire this wand while I'm in a body of water, I should be good. Not that I would ever do such a stupid thing. Next, it's time for the underground jungle, or as I like to call it, testing grounds for highly experimental wands. Since that's about the stage of the game where you will most likely start to get the first wands that pack some serious punch. And with how open the area is, blowing yourself up is still possible, but less likely. And believe me, as a Noita player, you'll gladly take that deal any day of the week. As for my newest creation, it's capable of both immense destruction and gently tickling enemies, depending on its mood, I guess. Luckily, subtlety is optional, so if I spam attack long enough, everything dies eventually. Well, except for Steve in the next holy mountain. For him, I'll just have to use my trusty drilling wand. I then increased my max HP by 50% after rerolling the perks twice, finally got rid of my polymorph potion, and then went on to the vault, which really lives up to its name. Here I managed to find a ton of goated wands, like this black hole one, this rocket one, and the one with the quantum split modifier, which I will make good use of later on in the video. But despite all these findings, I really struggled in this biome, and by the time I found the portal I only had 7 HP left. Which is also why I decided it's finally time to head back to the surface to hunt down those tasty Greek letter spells and finally start the run for real. There was just one thing left to do before starting my ascent. Keen-eyed viewers might have noticed that the Steve I just defeated was indeed not Steve, but a stronger roided up version of him, which appears after defeating the normal version 3 times. It can be pretty risky fighting him since he packs a serious punch, but there was just no way I was gonna leave Tinker with wands everywhere behind. And now that I'm no longer dependent on holy mountains to edit my wands, it's time to get going. Now I'd love to say that going back through all the previous biomes was super easy and barely an inconvenience, but the reality is I nearly died. The fight against Steve had already cost me over half my health bar, and despite actually having decent wands, I still managed to almost die in the vault. A single biome, with several more patiently waiting for their turn. So what would you do with only 12 HP left and absolutely no way to heal back up? If your first instinct was to push your luck even further and ignore all consequences, then you'd be absolutely right, and possibly in need of therapy, but that's exactly the mindset a Noita player needs. Luckily, I managed to retrace my steps through the underground jungle almost perfectly, which meant I only ran into a single enemy the entire way. I still somehow managed to lose 3 HP though, and staring at that sad single-digit excuse for a health bar, I finally realized there was no way I had survived the next biome, which was the Hisi base. Probably the biome I've died the most in. But wait, I hear you ask, isn't the run already done for? Well, it might just seem so, my dear viewer, but in my 100 hours of playing Noita, I discovered that left to the mines, in the area where everything is shrouded in darkness, you can actually find a heart that refills your HP, just like the ones in the Holy Mountains. So now that we know where to go, all we have to do is not to take a single point of damage getting there. Easy, right? Luckily, I've got just the tools for that. Roll the drilling montage. After barely making it to the heart container, it's finally time to hunt down the alchemist. So I head west, climb over the giant achievement tree and dig my way down to the ancient laboratory, where I immediately waste half my HP fighting a single enemy I could have just ignored. Upon reaching the entrance of the boss room, I double checked my loadout one last time. Despite having found Magic Guard, the spell that instantly deleted the alchemist in my previous Noita video, I decided to play it safe and equip a teleport bolt instead. The plan is simple: dodge everything until his shield drops, then unlock unload with something that deals as much damage as possible as fast as possible. And thanks to the Berserkium just lying around everywhere, that plan worked just like a charm. With the alchemist dead and the Greek letter spells in our pockets, we can now finally start playing Noita. But you see, the Greek letter spells are actually only the first puzzle piece on our quest to become the strongest entity in the known universe. And luckily for us, the alchemist was so kind to drop us part of the second one, the crystal key. Gamma, Sigma, Omega and Alpha are all nice to have, and thanks to their innate ability to copy spells, even the ones with limited uses, they're insanely powerful. But you know what's even more powerful? Math. And I'm not even joking. There are these so-called divide by spells that, well, divide your spells. To get our hands on them though, we first have to solve a puzzle. Luckily for me, you guys already gave me all the hints I needed down in the comments under my last video, which looking back I probably could have figured out myself, if I ever actually paid any attention, that is. I'm talking of course about the part where I have to perform a private concert for the crystal key, using all 4 music machines. Now that that's done, it's time to find the chest that belongs to the key. To do that, we just need to hack the outer wall on the far right and follow it all the way to the cloudscape, where we'll eventually find a blue chest sitting on a platform, which we can now open with the key that has heard all 4 songs. Why is it not working? Well, it turns out you have to actually equip or throw the key for it to count. Told you I should pay more attention. So after doing it one more time, we are now finally able to open the chest and get our hands on the divide by spells. I got divide by 2, 3 and 4. Each one makes the next spell cast that many times, but in exchange each cast gets a little weaker. But simply dividing damage spells would be too obvious, wouldn't it? I wonder what happens if... Okay, so let me explain what's happening here. It basically allows us to shoot a metric facton of whatever spell we put in the first slot. And to top it all off, I also slapped the quantum modifier on the wand. And let me tell you, I couldn't be happier with the results. So now that I have an earth-shattering weapon of mass destruction, that still leaves me with one problem: my HP bar. Without a reliable way to heal, it doesn't matter how strong of a wand we've got. Dying would just be a matter of time. And since we're already hanging on by a thread, I figured my safest bet would be to head back into the mines and check every biome I've already been through for a healing spell. Luckily, revisiting the old biomes is a breeze now, mostly because we can erase everything, terrain included, from existence without even breaking a sweat. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean we're not still at the mercy of RNG. No matter how many wands we find or how deep we go, there's still no guarantee we'll get a healing spell. I did, however, find a Path of Dark Flame spell, which I immediately slapped onto our main wand, because that spell, combined with a homing modifier and a Greek letter spell for unlimited use, is just about the most broken thing imaginable. Even enemies that would normally wipe the floor with our corpse become nothing more than a mild annoyance. So with our HP bar dropping to an alarmingly low level, Path of Dark Flames couldn't have come at a better time. And before I knew it, I was back at the very holy mountain I'd decided to turn around earlier. Only this time I'm equipped with much stronger wands, but I wanted more. You see, as strong as Path of Dark Flames may be, it unfortunately does not destroy any terrain. But you know what does? Black holes. So of course the next logical step is combining both spells into one unstoppable projectile of death. And oh boy, did it bring death. Unfortunately, it was not the enemies that died. What you see here is raw, unedited footage of my PC struggling to comprehend the sheer amount of war crimes this wand is capable of committing. And after a few minutes of this torture, my PC made noises that no piece of hardware should ever make, and then crashed. Luckily, Noita handles crashes really well, as if they knew that would eventually happen, and I was able to basically pick up right where we left. Only this time, let's just leave the wand as is. It's not like any of the enemies stand a chance anyways. But of course, since we only have 29 HP left, we still need to be extremely cautious, so no unnecessary exploring or greed for gold and treasures. Our main objective is to make it to the next holy mountain in one piece. Okay, now that we made it through the temple and healed ourselves back up, we still need to somehow take care of roided up Steve. Last time we fought him, he took a really good amount of HP off of us, so we really need a solid strategy to... Oh, he's dead. Well, that was easier than expected. Anyway, after picking up what was left of him and re-rolling, I picked up the Repulsion Sector perk and started digging my way back up into the Temple of the Art. I could go on and fight Call Me, but killing him isn't the objective today. I want to become as powerful as possible and finally break into a parallel universe for the first time. And now that we've picked up the heart in the very last holy mountain, I can't really think of any other way to heal. Well, except finding an actual healing spell. Unfortunately, I didn't find one, but what I did find was a spell called Summon Taika Sora, a spell I'd never even heard before. but one that would end up saving my entire run. I just didn't know it yet. Also, the game decided to crash my PC again while I was casually murdering enemies, which I think is why some weird stuff started happening, like this pit that apparently forgot to load the terrain it was supposed to have. After scouring through the entire Temple of the Art and still not finding a healing spell, I figured I might as well try out this new one. Apparently it summons a wand that fights alongside you, and wouldn't it be a fun coincidence if it happened to heal me too? Okay, I did it. I summoned the thing. Now what? Well, I guess summoning a few more couldn't hurt, right? And that's when I discovered something. If you kill one of these floating drone wands, it actually turns into a normal one you can pick up. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so back. Because that means as long as there is even the slightest chance for one of those wands we summoned to have a healing spell attached, we are going to find it. Okay guys, we found one. That definitely didn't take 10 minutes of constantly summoning and destroying countless wands. Anyways, now that we have a method to heal ourselves, we are finally free to do whatever the fuck we want. Like fighting that huge triangle you guys told me about. See? Easy cheesy. Also, just ignore the fact that some of the backgrounds are missing. According to my research, that's just something that happens if the game crashes multiple times on you. But we don't have the time to mourn a few missing sprites, because we are going to make some bank, baby. The gold is a cube-shaped area that's only here to make the player extremely rich. And without your guys' comments, I can guarantee I would have never stumbled across this magical place. So after we Jeff Bezos'd ourselves, I figured it was finally time for our first breakthrough attempt. Nope, not quite there yet. Instead, why not explore the sky first? I mean, we did get a small taste of it back when we got the divide by spells, but surely there has to be more to it. And oh boy, there is. I spent over an hour just climbing what has to be the most hostile version of heaven imaginable. But despite finding some of the rarest spells in the game, like the divide by or even Greek letter spells, I couldn't shake the feeling that no matter how high I went, this would just go on forever. And given that some of the enemies literally bleed polymorph potion, it was just a matter of time that I got polymorphed and one shot. I instead decided to give the opposite direction a try and, you know, just dig down until I find something cool, I guess. Starting with the pyramid. After making our way in, we get greeted by a giant green blob made of bones that instantly attacks us once we get too close. And to make matters worse, it's completely invincible. At least until it decides to willingly reveal its weak spot to us. Which to absolutely no one's surprise was the worst possible move to do there. The spells that thing dropped were certainly interesting, but of no use for us now. And speaking of spells, at the bottom of the pyramid we find another orb and a necromancy spell. Commanding an army of the dead sounds 100% right up my alley, but since for some reason I wasn't able to make it work, I just kinda gave up on it. Next I decided to dig down the watchtower right into a biome called the Overgrown Caverns, and this place was just one city. I couldn't take 5 steps without finding a new one. If I wouldn't already one-shot everything I came across, I definitely would have spent more time here. But once I found a perk that was just called Moon Raider, I immediately forgot about everything else and started following the tiny dot that appeared out of nowhere. So this is the moon, huh? Tinier than I imagined. I wonder what happens if... Wait, did the material of the moon really just become cheese after I dug into it? I wonder if that's part of some convoluted puzzle or if the devs just got hungry mid-development. I didn't have to wait too long for an answer because turns out the real puzzle was the unreadable glyphs we found along the way. Or in this case, inside the moon. Well, that's a conundrum. On one hand, I really enjoy playing through Noita with no external resources other than your guys' comments. On the other hand, it's just some text that needs to be translated. I wonder what I should do. Wow, that wasn't helpful at all, but converge the edges definitely sounds like it has something to do with parallel universes. There's just one more thing I need to take care of before tearing apart the space-time continuum. Evaporating an entire body of water with black holes. See, in my last video, my little trip to the lake got cut short by some unforeseeable events. So this time I figured I'd go all in. What I didn't expect was just how stupidly massive this thing is. It took me 20 minutes of non-stop digging just to finally reach the bottom, where I found my second ever essence. And just like all other essences, this one also comes with a free buff or debuff depending on your perks. In this case it's a whiskey trail that's added to our projectiles, which in combination with a wand that shoots about 200 projectiles per second unlocks Noita's hidden slow motion mode. So yeah, let's just head to the nearest essence eater and get rid of this thing. Oh boy, I wonder which cool and useful trinket we'll get in exchange for this essence. Wow, a stone that turns liquids into literal shit? Thanks, Noita. Just what I always wanted. Also, looking back at the footage, I noticed that I didn't encounter the eldritch horror you guys told me about, which is a bummer since I'm pretty sure I would have folded that thing like a lawn chair. So if you have any ideas as to why I didn't encounter it, please feel free to let me know. But now it's finally time to break the boundaries of space-time itself. And to do so, we need to get past this massive wall of cursed rock, which by itself wouldn't be much of a problem, but simply removing it won't work because the space it used to occupy will still hurt us. So to manage to get through God knows how thick of a wall of that stuff, we're finally going to upgrade to non-stationary healing. It was simply glorious. Never before had I felt this powerful and invincible. And with this loadout I finally managed to break through the wall into, well, what seemed just like the other side of the overworld at first glance. But in reality it was an entirely new, untouched version of the world we started in. Yes, you heard that right, untouched. And yes, that means exactly what you think it does. We now have the opportunity to revisit all of the holy mountains and get another batch of perks, making us even stronger than we already are. Also, it seems that the portals between the biomes sent us back to our original world. I was hella confused the first time I went into one, but at least that gave us the opportunity to learn some useful stuff about the parallel worlds. Like the fact that the overworld is much more dangerous here, for example. At least I could not remember the alchemist just hanging out in broad daylight back in our homeworld. But once I entered the mines and made my way through the familiar biomes, the enemies seemed oddly normal. That means that either their strength stayed the same or I've just ascended beyond the mortal plane to a point where balance no longer applies. And looking at our perks list, I think the answer is quite obvious. Explosion immunity, all-seeing eye, toxic immunity, melee immunity, electric immunity, more HP, I got them all. All the perks I could ever dream of. And to top it all off, wands that could vaporize worlds and spells that would make gods reconsider their career choices. But there's one thing even all of that cannot protect me from. The great equalizer. The ender of runs. Noita veterans watching know exactly what I'm talking about. Polymorph. Just imagine how lame and sad it would be if I now just got polymorphed and one-shot after amassing all that power and spending so much time on this run. Ah, shit. To be honest, as much as it hurts, I kinda deserved it. I fucked around and found out. There was no point in fighting that enemy. I could just have moved on and be on my merry way to even more riches. The worst part is that I only got polymorphed because I teleported straight into one of the projectiles. But hey, that's the game and I bet I haven't even spent that much time on this run anyways. I mean, how long could it have been? Maybe 4-5 hours? Well, it seems that I just threw away a 12-hour run in the blink of an eye. But man, did the moments where I obliterated everything on screen feel incredible. I'm gonna chase this high for the rest of my life. If you guys have some suggestions as to what to do once I reach that powerful enough to break reality point of a run, feel free to leave a comment below. I'm still struggling a bit with the whole concept of how to wrap up a run other than dying. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See you in the next one. Bye.